Greetings and salutations, gamers. Welcome to Cast Co-op, the podcast in which three podcast hosts cast together. I am one of your co-hosts, Mr. Luke Lore, host of the Trophy Room, a PlayStation. Nope, that's not right. Host of the Xbox Expansion Cast. Oh, coming in hot today, boys.
I'm the tired one.
Yeah, I guess so. Guys, I'm here with Ainsley Bowden, host of Season Gaming's Bitcast. Ains, how are you, buddy?
I am doing well, tired, grinding on a game that you guys told me I shouldn't grind on, you sons of bees.
Not me. I didn't say anything.
You're right.
Well, we're going to talk about it.
What's funny is that you and I both look like we're vampires from that game, but at different stages.
And we're both more threatening than the vampires in that game, which we'll get to.
No.
But Redfall is out. Star Wars is out, which I know you boys are super excited for. So, going to be fun tonight.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We got some stuff to dive into for sure. And of course, we are joined by the real host of the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast, Mr. Joseph Moran. How are you, buddy?
Wait, Kyle's not with us.
I'll bring him on.
I would bring Logan on. He's played more Redfall than I have.
There you go. See, a proper review could be made at this point. So that said, I'm doing fantastic. I've played 25 hours of a game that over the weekend that I've meaning to play, and enjoying the hell out of.
Nice.
So, this episode's gonna be nice because I feel like we're gonna start small with a review, and then we're gonna ask big, broader questions going forward. As we've seen over the last few weeks, the L's, as the kids say, have been handed to Microsoft in plenty, in just rapid succession. So. I'm excited to talk games with you though, first and foremost.
Yeah, it's been too long since we got to sit down, the three of us. What is happening right now?
What's up?
What is this moment that's taking place?
I'm just throwing you off because I can. That's all.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway.
Why does this look weird?
Yeah, you're blending into your chair. You're like a floating head.
Yeah,
like one of the many assets in Redfall that doesn't load.
Oh.
So
yikes.
Oh man. So obviously, boys, we're going to be joined tonight by plenty of people who have questions about Redfall. We've got a lot to say about Star Wars, Jedi Survivor, and then, like you said, Joe, the bigger questions about reviews and just kind of how they're playing a part here. But off the top here, let's go ahead and talk about Redfall and get out the way. Ains has just put up a written review over on. Nope, it hasn't gone live yet. Okay.
No, it is live. Sorry, I was shaking my head just thinking about the time I put in this weekend.
Okay,
keep going.
All right. So Ains has just put up a written review over at seasongaming.com. He's put in north of 30 hours for Redfall. Is that correct, bud?
Nearly 30. Yeah.
Okay,
30.
so just around 30 hours. Beaten the game. I will say that I did get codes on Sunday afternoon, and I was able to put in 3 hours. So that was yesterday at the time of recording.
Codes came late. Yeah.
So I've played 3 hours of the game. I can give you guys impressions on that one. Oddly enough, and the joke between Ains and I is we have the same conclusion. It took me 3 hours what he got in 30, but that's our consistent banter there. But a lot to really break down there. And Joe, I would imagine.
A lot to unpack.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack.
There is actually a lot to unpack this episode.
There actually is for once.
I gotta tell you, boys. So the hardest part for the past few days has been trying to play through Jedi with some of the frustrations that have come with performance, because the story and everything is fantastic. But then to be getting messages and kind of reading the room on Redfall, and then like I recorded XEP without having played Redfall, and people were DMing me comments like anthem level disaster. I think that's extreme. To yikes, and any number of middling elements here. And then here we are. And I think bad news bears I think it's bad for Xbox. I think this is bad for Xbox. I enjoyed my 3 hours, but it was very mid. If that tells you anything. Like, it's a mid game that I had fun, fine. But I was annoyed I wasn't playing Jedi during that time. So we got a lot of questions, I would imagine, through the course. But Joe, I would like you to steer a bit of this Redfall discussion, and then we're going to talk Arcane on the back half of this Redfall discussion, because I think that's a logical step to talk about Redfall and then talk about Arcane and kind of the bigger element here and how it impacts Microsoft, if you don't mind. You're muted. You're muted. You're handsome, though.
Oh, thank you. My goodness. You know what? You're not too snazzy yourself, you old minx. Ains, I'll start with you. Almost 30 hours you've played in this game. You've rolled credits on it. You had some faith in this game a long while back because you're like, it's Arcane Austin. These are the same people that made Prey. When there was doubts of like, are they just trying to go to a successful idea just because they're looking for a hit? You're like, no, this is a really talented studio that is doing something that we know, but it's exciting because it's this studio doing it. Now, having rolled credits, I want to know if you're feeling the same feeling here.
So I think many of us who played and loved Dishonored, Prey especially, and Deathloop, kind of the joke coming into this was, even though we were getting some red flags early on about Redfall, right?
Yeah.
It was Arcane doesn't miss, have faith. And I have said that myself. They missed.
Big time.
Redfall is a surprising... It's a very, very hard game to describe. And I wrote a long review for that reason. I kept typing and typing. I'm like, man, this review is going long. But it's very hard to explain. And so I'll try and tackle it in pieces. But long story short, just to kick us off, it is not up to the level of those games. I played on PC. I specifically asked for a PC code from Bethesda because I have a new PC. Yeah. And based on the 30 FPS discussion, I figured I'll play it on PC, right? On PC, I was playing at like 200 plus frames in DLSS 3, and it's super smooth, and I had no technical issues whatsoever.
Okay.
Can you talk about your PC briefly? I think that's relevant here.
It is. It's in my review. Brand new PC, i9 13900K CPU and a 4080 GPU. So it's a higher end PC.
Right.
So
Ains is in a different tax bracket, but folks, just
stop it. No, so I put that in my review, and I specifically said at the end, thank you, Bethesda. I cannot speak to the Xbox Series X version. I will tell you, I did get some hours in with Miles. Everyone I think watching us probably knows Miles over IGN and Windows Central, etc. We played co-op for a while. We had one crash during co-op. It's the only crash I had the whole time I played the game. And we started again, and it was fine. I'll get to the co-op if anyone has questions about it, because that's kind of a letdown as well.
Because that was one of the main things of like, this is a co-op experience. You're tethered to, you're not tethered to the players.
No, that is one surprising thing. You're not.
Yeah, you could roam around the world however far away from each other you like. How is that disappointing?
So anyway, performance on PC, very good with a lot of options. Performance from what Miles said, who was on Xbox, was really poor at the time. This was Saturday.
Okay.
A big patch did come out today. I don't know if it's improved. I can't speak to it.
When he said performance, Ains, I noticed texture pop in and assets not loading. That's something that, because we were playing co-op as well.
Yeah, he said. So there's a fire station you get to right at the start of the game. It's your home headquarters for the first map, which I'll get to. There's a big emblem on the ground that says fire station, whatever. And he's like, what's that look like for you? And I was like, it looks like a fire station logo. And he goes, dude, it's like a big blurry mess for me.
Yep.
And I took a screenshot of it on mine, and I just DM'd him, obviously privately. And I just said, here's what mine looks like. And he just responded laughing. He goes, mine doesn't look anything like that. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you.
Identical
co-op
for me.
Yeah, and he said like things like weird things, like if you shoot the ground, which it has some physics, right? Like chips come out of the pavement and stuff when you shoot the ground. But he said on Xbox, like it was dropping to like a slideshow when he was playing it. For me, I wasn't getting any slowdown or anything else. But again, a different configuration, right?
I didn't experience the slowdown on the physics, but I did mess around with them a bit, Ains. And Joe, you'll be happy to know that unlike the fruit physics in Halo Infinite, these pumpkins explode.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Back to co-op, Joe. So we played for a few hours. The lack of tethering was a nice surprise. The problem is that the game, as you saw from the trailers and stuff, wants to be Borderlands-ish, right? Where you have kind of 4 players, everyone has their abilities, and you're killing vampires and looting and having fun. The problem is that the environment supports it. Like the town setting is nice, and there's verticality, and you can clamber and do everything around the environment nicely. There's just not anything to kill. There are cultists, which are the AI, cultists. They're really
Human
stupid.
enemies.
Some of the worst AI I've seen in a while.
Really?
Yes, and they are incredibly easy to kill, even on the more challenging difficulty, which I tried. I could run around and slaughter them without taking a hit pretty much through the whole game. Then you have the vampires, and the normal vampires are also pretty easy. They're more interesting than the cultists. They're also pretty easy, and then you have kind of these kind of senior vampires that have different abilities and stuff. But the problem is they're too few and far between.
And did you relate to the older vampires, Ains?
me and Luke share a little lineage here, a little bit.
Yeah, we do.
So you're running around this world, and what me and Miles discovered is there's just not a lot to do. There's not a lot of things to fight or big engagements to take part in. There's no type of world event, right? And compounding the issues is even when you're killing enemies, they don't really drop loot. Some of the vampires will have an ash pile you can get a gun or something from. Usually it's a crappy gun. Most of your good loot is found either in hidden safe locations, similar to kind of like Dead Island 2, or beating certain mini bosses, which you'll fight along the way. But other than that, you're just running around killing nonsensical AI for basically no reward whatsoever.
So it's not man. So it isn't like a Diablo or like a looter shooter
No,
where you're constantly
not
getting
even
stuff
close
to upgrade. It seems like the enemies aren't, because usually in an Arcane joint, everything feels so well placed. Everything has a purpose.
Yep.
And
there are moments of that. And the weird thing I called out in my review is that you start in this open world, and the nice thing with an arcade game, it's open world right away. You can just wander off and do whatever the hell you want, which is awesome. And the map is beautiful, and there's some things to discover, but nothing super meaningful. The strange thing is, the way the game is structured is you do all these missions, you get to a vampire god who is like the overseer, right? One of the key it's actually 4 vampires, and the cultists worship them and whatever, right? You beat that god, and then the game pushes you through a mission which leads into a second area of Redfall. So you get introduced halfway through the game to a second map of Redfall that is completely different. It's still Redfall, right? Still the same aesthetics and stuff, but it's different landmarks, different missions, different everything, but it's not connected. So as soon as you go to the second map, the first map's gone. You cannot go back to it. And so you start, but the mission structure is the same as the first island.
Yeah, so, I'm very lost here. Let me find my way back for a second. Okay, so the other thing about Arcane joints is I'm thinking of Dishonored, I'm thinking of Deathloop, killing the boss in certain different types of ways. Is that can I drop an anvil on a vampire god, or is it just like a Destiny boss where I'm just there?
So so when you're fighting in the environments, there's some physics stuff you can play with, right? You can shoot canisters and set some on fire and do little things like that, blow up cars, which is cool. The vampire gods they act as end tier bosses, similar to like a Souls battle. Where it has a big power meter, and you fight a few of them. They're in their own arena. They're completely separate from the main game, basically. But they are key characters in the narrative story. So the vampire gods have their own story. They have their own missions, and they even have their own settings, which are in this alternate psych reality based on memories. And I don't want to ruin anything because those are literally the best parts of the game. The environments that you go to and fight through and stuff in those environments, and the god battles, even though they're easy, the whole game is easy, flat out. Like, I mean, I think I died maybe twice, and two of them, I think both of them were by accident. I don't think I died the whole game.
Would you agree the game's easy because the AI is bad?
Yes.
That's what I noticed in my time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and you do a lot of damage. As soon as you start getting what they call the legendary weapons, which are unrivaled in this game, you can just melt pretty much anything repeatedly. So, yeah, the vampire god stuff and those stories are really well done. And the more confusing and annoying thing about this game is there's a clear improvement in the second half of the game in terms of the environments, to your point, Joe, about the arcane-ish environments, right? Yeah. And traversing and doing your self-discovery of how you battle things is better in the second half. The vampire god stories in the second half are better, and there's 2 of them and the final boss where there's only 1 in the first area. So the second area has like 3 times the content of the first area, which is really weird. And then there was
like
one more
what
point
you're describing to me. It sounds like the first open area is just like the prologue.
That's how he's making it sound.
In theory, right? Which would work if it was like 3 hours of a 40-hour game. It's not. It's like 10 hours of a 25-hour game. Sure. So it's like 40% of the game, which it's just strange. I put in my review that the game would have worked much better as a large single map that you uncovered over time, but that you could go back to, like most big open world games, right? Yeah. I have to imagine there was some technical challenge, some limitation, something that prevented them from doing that. Because the stupid thing is, it's not like you're going from Redfall to somewhere else. It's all Redfall. It all has similar aesthetics, even though the landmarks are different and stuff. It feels like the same place, and they do a really good job of environmental storytelling in the place you're in. But the way it's broken up is weird. And then to compound that, not to keep going too long, I'm sorry.
No. This is what the show is right now. Yeah.
Yeah. After you beat the game, right? So I beat the final boss, and the game ends. You get credits, right? It finishes the story, and the story's actually pretty good when you get through it. It really is, genuinely. And I like some of the narrative events and kind of the things that speak. So it has more heart.
On a narrative like level, it's still, because like I love the Arcane narratives as well. Like even the games that like I didn't connect with, like Prey, the lore was still really interesting. Like Dishonored's story is, to me, incredible. I loved Deathloop's story as well. This sounds like it's the weakest out of what they've made thus far, but it still stands on its own 2 feet.
Stands on its own 2 feet. It's not as good as those games.
Okay.
It's just not. It has, again, there's some things here that are very cool, good ideas. Some of it's fleshed out, some of it's not. And I wrote in my review, you're going to hear a common theme with nearly every aspect of this game, which is could have been better if it was fleshed out more. The ideas are there. They're just not well implemented. You know how in Prey, for instance, as you're exploring the space station, you kind of uncover all sorts of secrets, right? And those secrets tie to characters. They tie to events that happen on the ship. And if you really paying attention, all of those things come together through missions and storytelling to create one of the best narratives in recent games, in my opinion. Redfall, you pick up books and notes and stuff around the city the whole time. There's tons of them. There's no tracking of them other than in your menu saying you got this note. There's nothing related to them. They don't have any really connectivity to any of the major things you talk about, despite some tidbits here and there. And only a couple of them give you a few side missions, which are really forgettable. They're barely even worth doing. So it has the pieces to try and deliver like a Deathloop, Prey, Dishonored experience. My guess is, genuinely, guys, they had all these design elements. They started piecing it together. They realized that trying to do all of these things in one title was a bigger undertaking than they could manage, and they had to cut scope. And in cutting scope, you've limited the loot design, you've limited the narrative design, and you've limited the engagement design, all of which really bring this game down from what could have been a 9+ to a 6 to 7.
Yeah, because it feels like hey, instead of taking elements from I don't know, maybe instead of trying to take elements from all their games, maybe you could take them in some of their games. Like, hey, maybe we take how we do combat in I don't know, like Deathloop, and then blend it with some of the abilities that you get in, a Dishonored, and maybe fleshing that out more. It seems like in the attempt to do everything, they kind of failed at everything. Is that lack of better?
Yeah, I don't want to be too harsh, right? I don't want to say failed.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. And I think people will be that harsh, honestly. But again, I think that some of the stuff works, and it's hard without spoiling to talk about the things that work and bring this game up. I think I told you guys, if I would have scored this game when I was halfway through it, as I got into Island 2 or at the beginning of Island 2, I was probably in the 6 range. And then Island 2, the multiple gods you fight there, the missions relating to them, etc., and some of the engagements in the second half brought that up for me to a 7. But you can't ignore mechanically all the other things wrong with the game. Real quick, Altarch, I believe it is. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. He said Ains was talking about beating the game. They got sidetracked. Yes, I do that. I'm sorry. So after you beat the game, you can start New Game Plus. You start with your skills, your loot, and your money, and everything that goes along with it. But it just starts. It ends. So anything you didn't finish in the core game, side missions, anything else you wanted to do, it's gone. And it doesn't tell you that. At least
it's not like, hey, you're about to fight the final boss type of moment.
No, it's just like, you're fighting the final boss, but it doesn't tell you can't go back. So I started New Game Plus. After you beat the game, it unlocks the 4th difficulty. There's 3 to start. You get the 4th, which is called Eclipse.
And which one did you play on?
I tried both. I started on default, and then I tried, I believe it's Midnight. I think it's the 3rd one, the higher one. Doesn't make much of a difference, honestly, and it doesn't help the AI. So then you start, keep in mind what I've just said, right? When you start the game over, you're at the beginning of the game on the first island. So it's not like you can immediately go back to what you were exploring on the second part of Redfall, because that doesn't open up until 40% through the game.
Damn.
So it's just weird design decisions in multiple areas on this game.
Okay. So overall, where did Season Gaming land on it for you, Ains? And I'll get to you, Luke. I'm so sorry.
You're good.
Yeah, so review's up. It's a long review because a lot to break down, and there's plenty more I can talk to. I'm happy to answer questions. Chat, please let me know if you have anything specifically. I landed on a 7 overall. Time investment, we always break a few extra things down. I said 25 plus hours. Replayability, I put it an 8 simply because you can play with all 4 characters. You can play in co-op, even though there's not much there right now. The characters do have some unique dialogue and things like that, and they are unique in the cutscenes, even though the cutscenes are static screens that are voiced over. Which is weird.
Really? They're not mocapped. It's just like we're playing Infamous 1 and 2.
Yep.
Holy shit. Okay.
So in my review, I said you get to the fire station, you get you meet the first NPCs, and you get the first cinematics. And I said right away, and Luke will attest to this, right away, I was like, okay, there's red flags here. Right out of the gate, because it feels almost like a game feels like it wants to be like Borderlands 1, but it's not even that successful.
Right.
Borderlands 1 has a better loot system, better kind of engagements in the world, in fighting, and Borderlands 1 came out like 15 years ago. So it is what it is, man.
Because I was about to ask, like, how do they work around all the mocap issues, one would think, or the dialogue issues? And so the way around it was
dialogue's pretty good. Like the voiceovers are good.
Okay.
And the soundtrack, you guys know I interviewed Jean-Nic, I always say Jean-Nic Bontemps, who composed it. The soundtrack's probably one of the most standout things of the game, funny enough. It's actually really good, got a good vibe. It plays cool things when you level up or do something neat, and it's got good music to it that kind of fits the haunting. He called it like a Goonies 80s vibe, which I loved because that's what it feels like. And it's a shame. I said in my review, the soundtrack feels like a Lost Boy at a Twilight concert. Like it just doesn't. The soundtrack like just.
Boy, he was anxious to get that line out, wasn't he?
Yeah, right.
the soundtrack just like stands out.
Ains right there on like his Google Doc, like, and period and. Nailed it.
hey, for those of you who aren't paying attention, all the subheaders in my review are like plays on vampire movies. I just couldn't help myself.
Oh, I like it.
Look at him being.
But yeah, man, it's weird because like I I grinded the hell out of it, and then I would step away to eat or do something in real life, and
Sure.
I'd be thinking about the game. Like I'd want to go back to playing it. So there is something there. But I don't know, Luke. I know you haven't played nearly as much, but just from a development perspective of what you have played, like someone asked me and Miles were talking about this, and someone asked me, can they salvage this game in the sense of can they expand upon it and fix the things that we're calling out? And I said, in theory, yes, but you're talking about a lot of development. Like you're talking about core design features of the game that you would have to flesh out and redo. And I don't know if Arcane and Bethesda and Xbox are going to do that.
That sucks. Luke, you played this for 3 minutes. You could. No, are your
people are going to have?
Yeah.
Truth be told, whereas I would point everybody to Ains's review for the thorough, substantial element. Like I've played for 3 hours, but I don't think many people are getting past that mark. And I think that's the God's honest truth. This feels, I think my message to Ains was, this feels like an indie game. And in one way, in some ways that makes perfect sense. In other ways, it's scope and what
I would say it feels like a AA game would probably be the more appropriate statement.
I think that's more appropriate because more indie games launched with working features. It sounds like a dig. I realize that name's mean. But I think the bigger thing is what you see are a lot of ideas in play. A lot of ideas, and yet nothing feels completely done, completely polished, ready to go. Talk about that. The loot system is a great. You loot everything. I mean, nonstop. And Logan was trying to get me to stop and go loot or things, and I'm like, why? Because as soon as you pick it up, it breaks down into your currency. You can scrap guns easily from any menu, from what I was seeing.
True, you can.
It's nice.
But there was no reason to explore because there's 1,000 notes all over this first map that Ains is talking about.
Oh, the whole game.
But I'm not all of it didn't I read the first ones and I was like, this isn't adding. This doesn't feel like it's doing anything. And so there was very little reward in reading it and taking the time to read it. So progress over the map. Very strange the way it introduced weapons for my character. Because I chose Jacob, the ghost.
That's who I used.
Which, it made sense, but I liked the idea. But stealth didn't feel good because sneaking up on somebody, you just walk up and punch them in the back of the head. They might die.
Oh, it's the funniest animation. It's so goofy.
Yeah, it felt very unfinished. It felt, what it feels like? It feels like every single thing got to the 80% mark. Like they got the part where you could get invisible, walk up behind and punch them. Good. It's playable, but it doesn't feel like it feels like there's an animation that should happen. That's really cool. It feels like you should be able to do some really cool takedown maneuver. The guns, they all shoot. They all have hit markers. They hit their targets, but it feels like there's a little oomph missing.
It doesn't feel like the gun has a little soul. When you're shooting a gun in Destiny, each gun does sound or feel different.
I don't know if Ains had similar experiences, but the shotgun was the way to go for me. And I'm not a shotgun player, but the sniper, the AR, the pistol, it was all a matter of what I had ammo for. I didn't feel a huge life soul difference between them. But maybe that changes as you get better weapons. It just didn't feel like there was much to any of them.
I put in my review, it feels very, arcadey, but I would say that's Arcane games in general kind of feel that way. Deathloop feels a little floaty and arcadey. Prey does to a degree. This feels like that, but slightly less polished.
It sucks. The part that hurts most, Joe, is that Ains is absolutely correct. In my 3 hours that I played with Logan, I was playing co-op. Co-op worked great in my experience, which I didn't have any frame drops. I didn't have any crashes, which 3 hours versus 10 to 15 or 15 now on Jedi.
No, we didn't. Yeah, it was good.
None of that happened. Okay. But while I was playing it, not a lot happened while I was playing it either. You know what I mean? That's the joke, is none of the bad things happened, but there weren't any many highs. But to Ains's point of when we walked away, I found myself today thinking about Redfall. I found myself today thinking I do kind of want to go play more. And I think that's the part where it's there is something here But when Ains was asked the question, could it be salvaged? To me, you need a top to bottom fix for the AI for it to be salvaged. The enemies are ridiculous. You can kite them easily. There's nothing to kill in some places, and then sometimes the vampires aren't much fun to kill. It's like there's nothing special here.
No, they're pretty boring at times.
Everything in the game feels like it's 80%.
Enemy variety is not there either.
It's lacking.
Okay, so if he's saying I was gonna say it's lacking in my limited experience. The problem
doesn't change a lot from the beginning.
Yeah, 3 hours versus 30, and I feel like Ains is saying everything I would have said, and which is having
jokes aside, it's true.
Yeah, having come off Dead Island 2, which I put 25 hours in for our review, maybe 20 hours in for our review. While that game didn't try to do, it didn't excel in many ways. It used its environments better. Like in Redfall, you can explode barrels and light oil on fire. Dead Island made that fun. Redfall does not make that fun. And there are a lot of moments like that I encountered in my limited time. But Joe, I tell you what, man, I'm gonna have fun for a little while playing co-op, and then I'm gonna put it back down, and we're gonna go play Fortnite season whatever or Diablo for sure. But like we're not gonna stick with this, but we are gonna have fun when we play it. So like everybody watching right now, you play this on Game Pass, you're gonna have a decent time. Maybe you wait, maybe you don't, but you boot it up with some buds, you get 10 hours and you're done. That's what I think Redfall is. It's not grounded.
Yeah, and as I said, it's a shame because Luke's right, and I said this in my review, is that people are going to drop off this game before the best parts of it, and that's a shame. And there's been plenty of other games like that. Happens with a lot of games that don't kind of nail an opening, right? People just move on, and it's a shame because there are some good parts. So real quick, 2 things. In the chat, Playa says the aiming feels really bad. Yes, it does. There's 2 settings in the game. One is for sensitivity, like every game has. And then there's this weird, I think, which Tando is calling out. There's this weird like latency movement setting. I must have changed the 2 of them probably 8 times before I felt somewhat comfortable. I meant to tweet out my settings so that people could use them because I made it feel more like an actual shooter. I will tweet those out to help you. Go ahead.
That made me reminded me of motion blur, which defaults to a ridiculously high level that I had to turn down. And I'm not one who gets motion sick in games. I turned it down to 0. That was bad. I had to find some weird middle ground for motion blur, which of all things for me to have to mess with.
Is it because the frame rate's low on Xbox?
It could be. It really could be. Because again, I didn't feel like I was dropping frames, and maybe it's because I've been playing Jedi. I didn't notice a frame problem.
We'll get to that.
I know that sounds like a dig, but like Travis said this and spoke well when he did over on Bitcast Ains. Jedi at 30 is not a terrible problem. The game does not demand 60. It should be 60. It should be, we want that, but like it doesn't demand it. Redfall, it feels like maybe we should, like 30, I get it, but 60 is what
see, I haven't played it. Like I said, I was playing like 200. So for me, it was super smooth. But I do have it installed on my Xbox and updated. I want to try it, and I'm going to report back the difference. Playa asks, is it better in co-op? So you might have missed Playa. I said that at the start. Honestly, I think for me and Miles had less fun. And the only reason I say that is because there are no engagements that take advantage of co-op. It's not like when you play co-op, there's like hundreds of enemies you can go kill and loot and have fun, like a Borderlands or Diablo, any other game where you're having a big group of people in an ARPG. It just feels empty. And because it feels empty, we were just running around the town. Like we'd kill a couple of enemies every minute, but that's it.
Did you notice, Ains, for you? Because I noticed this for Logan and I. There was no reason to be a different character. I didn't feel like with the one exception of a traversal benefit that Logan had for his character, it didn't feel like I brought anything special to the table. Now maybe I need to level up more, but like I could go invisible. I could send
the abilities don't change.
So I could send my Raven out for recon, but it didn't feel like that was necessary at any point, neither of them. And I didn't feel like had he been a different character, I've been a different character, it would have changed our approach to anything.
No, they don't work in conjunction well. He was Miles was Devinder. who had the teleportation thing.
That's what. Yes, that's who Logan was as well.
Okay, so I you can use that, right? So if he teleports, I can teleport. There's little things like that, but what we're talking about is a domino effect of design issues, right? So you can use your crow, kind of like an Assassin's Creed type thing, really, to fly out and it will mark enemies for you, right?
Yep.
There's no reason to, because the enemies are so stupid and easy to kill.
Yes, that's
So
that's what I was getting at.
If the enemies were challenging and you had to think about your engagements and be like, crap, I can't go that direction because those guys are going to destroy me and I'm going to have to sneak this way, then it makes more sense to mark the enemies for your teammate who can then go this way, you can go this way and stuff. There's just no point because the game doesn't give you a reason to do that. So let me real quick, if you guys don't mind, and for those watching us live, I'm going to put some screenshots up. I have most of these in my review, I think, but just on the screen, because I do want to point out one thing, which is once you get to some of these main stories and the psyche kind of alternate universe places that you visit with the Vampire God stories, some of these environments are really stunning. I actually said it felt like I was in Twilight Zone or Stranger Things upside down or something. But just real quick, just take a peek at some of these because they do deserve artistic kind of call out. So this one's really cool. I don't want to spoil what happens when you walk up to the house. That's why I took the picture there instead of ahead. But it's really neat. You're walking up and basically the world starts to like shift in different ways.
To like warp around you.
It warps around and it just goes nuts on you. And this, you're walking through the ocean, like going to a door. There's psychic kind of things broken out in the environment, and you can actually jump on the dresser there in the chair and leap up to the second level and kind of explore and stuff. You have this gigantic kind of death tree and roots that come out of it. And there's just a lot of kind of cool things that you get. Oh, sorry, I duplicated that one. There's a lot of cool things that you get to see and visit if you stick with the game. And as we've said multiple times now, the problem is I don't think people are going to stick with the game to be able to experience this. But I called out in my review that I genuinely believe that you're going to see some people who give this game really low scores. And just in my opinion, I think that if you play the whole thing, that there's too many kind of cool things in the latter part of the game to give this a terrible score. Perfectly fine to call out all the things we already have.
What's terrible?
To dock it. Sorry?
What's terrible? Like what in your mind, like what number Metacritic? What's terrible?
Oh, like 3-4.
Okay, gotcha.
So yeah, like I genuinely think if you play the whole game and experience some of the things I just showed you, and there's lots more, of course, it's hard to give this a 3 or 4. I don't think that's fair at all. But anyone, I saw someone say an Xbox site gave it nearly a 9. Stop it. This game is not a 9. It's just
gotta
not.
Be Xbox era, right? It's gotta be.
I don't know. I don't know who it is. I'm not naming names, but it's not a 9.
Probably Jesse. I'll name it. Whatever. I don't care.
So, I don't know. And again, I'm speaking from PC. I don't know what the Xbox experience is like. So
yeah,
well, that's a bummer. Because this is how it look. Watch this brilliant fucking segue. Because I've been told that Game Pass gives developers all the time in the world to make the games that they want. That Game Pass empowers developers to take more time to perfect the vision that is their game. And everything you guys told me about this game, it seems like they had to rush it out the door. Did Bethesda not get the memo that, hey, you could take your time now? Or is that a little bit of marketing bullshit? Like, can we just call it what it is?
Someone in the chat said, what did this game look like last year when it was supposed to release? And I just said unplayable. Like, there's no way. There's no way this game was playable last year.
So I think what we have here is not a Crackdown 3, but not much better. Gotcha. And I love Crackdown 3, and I'm going to enjoy some time with Redfall. But like, what we have here is a game that's clearly unfinished, in several ways, and that's an armchair analyst, armchair developer. Like, I account for that, and I appreciate that, but I don't know what's going on in terms of development time here, Joe. When you have Deathloop, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure what that means, where there are multiple teams, but I very much feel like there's some things that are not done, and this game needed more time.
It needed more time. Yeah. I think they cut scope based on a timeline. And in cutting scope, they had to cut back the core elements of the game that would have made it stand out. And what you get is, as I said, you get cool ideas that are only executed partially. And it's a shame because there is something here. If this IP, the environments, the setting are all excellent. And the fact that they, for whatever reason, right, we don't know the reason, but for whatever reason, they couldn't fully flesh them out, it's disappointing.
I think what's so frustrating is maybe, and this is like zooming back out, like taking the bigger breadth of Xbox as an ecosystem into account here. They would have lost nothing had Redfall been delayed. Like if they they would have lost nothing. They've done more damage to their position by releasing Redfall, this tentpole title, in this presentation. This is a fine game. It is fine. Well, fine is not what you need to have on your marketing and in your box. Like we were all mad that Xbox doesn't market well, and they don't. But they as an entity, Xbox did say like, okay, we are going to release the 2 Bethesda games in 2023, and it's Redfall is going to be one of the tentpole marquee titles we're going to talk about. And this shouldn't have been it. This should have been a AA level second team type discussion surrounding it, and they didn't do that. They didn't curtail that. They showed the game in 60 frames, and it comes with a sticker on it that says no, it's not yet. And the problem is it shouldn't have done that. This should have been like grounded. This should have been like, hey, here's early access. You try it. You talk to us. We be on this journey with us. You want to be in with us on this development journey. And I think they've damaged the Xbox brand by releasing this. I think Ains, we talked in DM, and you were teasing me because in 3 hours I was like, this is bad for Xbox. I feel this is bad for Xbox.
No, I agree with you. That's not one of the points I was criticizing. I was talking about the value of the product and the total product scope in 3 hours. But no, I fully agree with what you're saying. And we've had this discussion here. We've had it on Bigcast. I know you guys have talked about it. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know what to say at this point that we haven't already said. There is a problem somewhere in the leadership, in the delivery system, in the management of resource allocation, in time framing. I don't know what it is. I legitimately don't know. This game, they announced this game. Let's. I don't want to stay on this too long because I'll end up on a rant. But we've talked about Halo many times. Halo was expected to release with Xbox Series X. It was marketed as such. It was told as such. It was on the box. That game was not ready by 2020, as we've talked about many, many times. Not even close. How anyone in Xbox leadership couldn't see that Halo Infinite wasn't ready for release in 2020, well ahead of time. And you're talking about executives, and not to say everything falls under Phil, but he's the boss. I mean, at the end of the day, he's the boss. Yep. He was in the head of first party development of Microsoft Game Studios for years. And there are many people in Xbox leadership who understand game development way more thoroughly than any of us do. Right. And I guess my question is, how do they not see? What is the process in place to see that this game is not even close to ready, so that you shouldn't be talking about it ready to release? They talked about this game releasing a year ago. Yeah. There's no way this game was anywhere near ready to release last year. To your point, it still needs more time.
It aggravates me as someone who desperately wants to see Microsoft get a win of everybody was building up this year. This is the year that Xbox proves that they can do X, Y, and Z, put out great games consistently over the span of the year. And it's been just a hodgepodge of, you have amazing games like Hi-Fi Rush, and then you have what seemingly are middling games like Redfall, and it seems like there is no quality control. I don't know you're right, there's something a mess, and I feel like we're taking crazy pills because every other week when we're on this show, we're like, there's something wrong here. Something's not smelling right. I've said on occasion, I don't believe the cadence of the next year sentiment from Xbox. Next year is going to be the year. I don't believe it anymore. And I think Redfall is kind of the thing that proves it to me. And when you guys were, and I know this is very hyperbolic, this is very like, oh, first world problems. When you guys were telling me like, oh, the Xbox Series version is running hot, I'm playing Jedi Survivor, right?
Mhm.
The game runs
Yep.
a little bit toasty, but at the
Yeah.
same exact time, I'm looking at this box of which I paid $500 for. This is the first exclusive, console exclusive from Bethesda now on Team Xbox. The game that
Hi-Fi Rush.
I was what's that? Oh, sorry. Well, that
Your
was
point is
Tango
well taken. I know
Gameworks.
what you mean.
Yeah,
I know what you
yeah.
mean.
Thank you for correcting me. Anyway, and these and this is a game that I was incredibly excited for. And like when I saw your comments in the DMs, I was just like, why do I have this thing? Like, why do I have this box? I could just go to GameStop, sell this kit for a nice little GPU, and throw it into a PC. Like, why? It angers me because they told me this is the world's most powerful console. It could do X, Y, and Z. It'll make your bed for you, all that stuff. And it's just like these versions are coming out just still high. It's aggravating.
So there's two things to address in that. I think the first, we're small, like zoom in a little bit, and that is Xbox does have a quality control problem. This is not new, like this is not something we haven't talked about before, but you go to purchase a Nintendo game, you go to purchase a Sony game, you can expect with reliability a certain level of polish, right? And I grant anybody that wants to bring up like Last of Us PC, but I think that's an outlier in the bigger picture. PC is a little bit more complicated, and I recognize that. But
PlayStation's had a few issues, but not on the same level.
But not on the same level, right? Like you can look at the number of first-party releases, and they're very high quality. For Xbox, you've got Sea of Thieves, not new, but running quite well successfully. Grounded has hit some serious milestones of late. Niche title, like my students play Grounded. They talk about it all the time. I've never once brought it up to them. It's awesome, but like not what I would hear about in this setting, right?
Right.
Hi-Fi Rush, very high quality. Age of Empires, very high quality. But what you've got are niche, right? This was going to be their mainstream tentpole title, and next to Halo, it makes it feel like things aren't going so well. You look at Minecraft Legends, multi-platform, right? You look at Ghostwire coming in and not running as well on Xbox, which is an argument that honestly, like I've never had a problem with Ghostwire.
Right.
Like Ghostwire runs great for me. I've not had a single issue.
Trust me, when we talked about Jedi Fallen Order, people were like, "What game have you guys been playing?"
Right. But my point is, Xbox is a weird conundrum because I talk about those niche games that are all very good. Forza Horizon, very good. Weird expansion to choose. Strange choice. Halo finally finding its stride 2 years later. Is that okay? I don't know. I don't think so. But it's a strange place to be in if you're Microsoft, because the perception is you have a quality control problem. You put out Minecraft Legends as a big title to multi-platform sevens. Put out Redfall. To me, it's between a 6 and a 7. And I swim in sevens. Is that what it is? Is that where we're at?
As of now. No.
What is it? I'm sorry.
Played so far. It's a 6.
Oh yeah, in 3 hours.
Oh, what is we talked about what the meta would be for Redfall. What is it right now?
Good question.
I
do open critic.
My prediction was 71 before I played it.
So everyone in the chat, I said 60. I said 67.
Yeah, okay. 68 was one that Silent Cypher said to me, and I think he's right.
Yeah.
I don't
what
know
is it sitting at? 66. I was one off. One off.
And like, you could tell me anything between 60 and 75, and I'd have been like, yeah, or like 60 and 73, and I'd be like, yeah, okay, I get you. And it's a quality control problem, and so there's that element of it that's frustrating for sure for me. And the other part of like, should you have the box, Joe? For me, Xbox's strategy is a quantity, not quality. Mm-hmm. And for an explorer, someone who plays a lot of games, because I play a lot of games,
you love it.
I finished a lot of them too, Ains. But
a lot.
My achievements, sir.
A lot is a stretch, but go ahead.
I play a lot of games, and I like to explore. That's what Game Pass is for, because they have very much told me since Game Pass's release that they're not doing a whole lot of top tier games. They're just not, and that's okay.
Yeah,
bummer.
But show me a 90 Metacritic first party game that's gone into Game Pass. I don't think
Forza Horizon 5, but I think that was I think that was expected. Halo was close. Halo was an 87, 88, something like that. But again, those are expected quantities, and you've got IP strength, and you've got other things that factor into that as well. Not that PlayStation, Nintendo, and other publishers don't rely on IP strength, but still, Hi-Fi Rush was a 90 plus as well. Agreed, Sean.
Niche though. That falls into the niche thing. It's a rhythm game.
That's the weird thing, right?
But I love, and it's a rhythm game.
Someone asked a question I wanted to answer, and I forget. James, what's up? James, what's up, Sean?
Hey, Sonny's he's still in the hospital and watching us from there. So let's send him.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, shout out to Suddy, man.
Hey, Suddy, I had a panic attack earlier, and that's why I'm off my game this podcast episode. So could you, while you're in there, could you steal some, like, I don't know, what's some downers? I think so. I need some downers. Just tell them you're feeling sad.
Stop it.
Thank you very much. And shout out to the American healthcare system. It's real broken over here.
Yeah. Go visit Sean for a week, get better, and then come back.
There you go. Let's see Sean. We miss Sean. I love Sean.
I don't know. And so we have mixture. Some people in the chat are saying this was expected. Xbox has issues. Play is trying to defend, saying, they have other things going for them. And we've talked extensively on this show around there are benefits and negatives to each platform.
Yep,
there just is. And I think it's fair to call out right now that Xbox has a management issue. And as we've talked about, they have 23 first party studios, which we'll get to ABK, I guess, may or may not grow in the near term.
Please no.
But the problem is that that comes with a lot of management, and there's, whether you agree with it or not, there's definitely something going on with the oversight of these game releases. There's no reason at all, as Joe said, I think, that Redfall could not have waited another 6 months. And yeah, they would have caught bad press and said, oh God, they've delayed again. Oh God, they didn't deliver in the first half of 2023. Whatever. That would be better. And then releasing a higher quality game later this year. Then now you have a game that's out there. We don't even know if it's going to get polished up to the level that it should have been at launch ever. And you've more tarnished your long-term reputation that you can't deliver a stellar AAA game at launch. And Luke, I think that's damaging.
Yeah, and Luke, you told me to talk or ask about Ellery, someone in your Discord who made a terrific point. I don't know how to segue that. I was trying to my brain.
At some point. Well, I want to. Ains makes a good point about a bit of delaying, and it could have been a wonderful 1-2 punch. For the holiday, or Starfield close, before Christmas, Redfall after Christmas. They could have done something in that window. They were going to lose nothing. They weren't going to be in a worse position.
Dude, release Redfall after Halloween, for God's sakes.
Yes. By the way, something we should credit it. There's a great vibe to Redfall, the town.
Yes.
Redfall. It feels good.
That's what I mean. It feels like a Lost Boys setting, and it's underutilized, and it's frustrating, and I'm angry about it.
So, my friend Ellery in our Discord for XEP, they brought up a really good point that is one that I don't know that I'd considered truly. With Xbox's approach of 7s, Game Pass, lots of Game Pass, day one Game Pass. There's a ton of day one Game. Like, you look at Game Pass's release for the last 6 months, they got a lot of really good hits in there. Wo Long is in there. 3.8 million people played Wo Long on Game Pass, and it sold 1 million. Like, that's cool. Like, there's a lot of really good things happening with Game Pass. When you look at Nintendo's avenue of approach with the Switch and first party titles, no discount, it's always a standard modus operandi for Nintendo. Then you look at Sony's AAA third person action game, top tier stuff, great show to go along with it. Like, there's a quality control element there. It feels like with cloud and with Game Pass, Xbox is no longer competing with Sony the way that Nintendo is no longer competing with Sony. And it feels like they now are each going their own direction, and that Microsoft is not trying to compete one-to-one with PlayStation. And if that's the case, I know why I have an Xbox, and it is quantity experiences, lots of different things. I can play my third parties on here, and they run well enough. Like, they run well, but I can do a lot of stuff. Game Pass is my Explorer. And I think that might be something that maybe Microsoft's just not trying to do what Sony does. And maybe that's something we need to stop asking them to do. And I'm not arguing that that's the right point, but when I look at it from that perspective, it certainly feels like that. Right? How many
may feel like it, but I don't think it's intentional.
I don't think it's intentional either. That's kind of my feel.
I think
it's a good point to make. But
it's a good point. Yeah. And I think that there may be some essence or some numbers on a spreadsheet somewhere that tell them that they can get away with doing this because of Game Pass. And I would say throw that spreadsheet out, because I think if there's any intention to the approach, it's the wrong approach, in my opinion. And who am I to tell? You know, we joke about this all the time, right? Who am I to tell a gigantic multi-billion corporation that they're doing it wrong from a numbers perspective? But I think that the expectation is quality. And we have direct comments from Xbox leadership about delivering quality AAA titles into the service. I mean, we'd be fooling ourselves to try and argue that Starfield is being looked at as Game Pass filler, right? This is a major blockbuster game that should be. And I would feel that a lot of our confidence may be a little shaken right now, but it should be one of the best games of the year easily. And it should be one of the most memorable games over the past few years if it's delivered properly. But I don't know. I don't know what your guys' confidence. I know, Joe, you're not super hyped on it to begin with, but after what we're talking about here with the last few years of delivery being mixed, leadership seemingly not having positive oversight, I don't know what I don't know what Starfield's going to look like at launch. I just don't know.
Yeah, I was actually about to ask you the same. Like, I feel like there has to be. I mean, there definitely has been conversations between Bethesda and Xbox coordinating Starfield. I think there's a reason why they've been promoting Starfield so much, and not so much Redfall, as it looks like maybe that is the bleeding edge or whatever that game was called to what could be, their Senua Saga 2 level like quality game. So to me, I think the conversation starts back up in a Zoom call tomorrow morning of, all right, so we launched our first game and it was a little bit rocky. What are we learning here that we can implement in Starfield? How are we looking there? And there should be someone, if Aaron Greenberg should be on the next flight to Bethesda, Maryland to get his hands on Starfield to see how that thing's running. Because I'll tell you this, I think if Starfield launches as, and I don't expect it to, who knows anymore?
Don't count.
I said that with too much confidence. But like if Starfield is like an Elon, rocket, it might combust. So to me, I want to get my hands on it to make sure, because if it's a dud, I think heads will roll if Starfield's a dud. There has to. It has to, right? Like something has to. If Starfield is not the lack of better words, the banger that all the kids have been hoping for, we're in fucking backcountry, man.
What are we doing? I think is the big thing. Then what are we doing? You went all of 2022 without a major release. Started 2023 off with fire. Age of Empires 2 and Hi-Fi Rush are great ways to start. You got a Game Pass that had day and date titles dropping into it. Whether you like Atomic Heart or not, that was a bigger title that I think controversy took it away. High on Life ended the year. Controversy took that away. Wolong, very high quality game. I think if I pulled my list up, I'd see one or two more that are just like, they're really putting some good stuff to start 2023. I mean, it was a great year. And then on your Xbox, make no mistake, you can play a lot of the great games that have come out this year. You can play Hogwarts. You can play Jedi. You can play a lot of great games that have come out. The question is, why do you need this over that? The answer is Game Pass, and it's not quality, it's quantity. And that's just
well said, Luke. It's well said.
Yeah.
I think I don't know. You brought up Hogwarts, right? From a studio that had only produced mobile games previously. And that game was delayed to all hell. I mean, multiple years of delays, right? But look what happens. It comes out, it's stellar, and it's one of the highest selling games over the past few years. Quality will sell. And I think they're doing themselves a big disservice, Xbox, by allowing this level of quality out the door from their big tentpole titles. This was supposed to be a tentpole title, not a Starfield, not a Halo, not all the way up here, but this was still a AAA title from Bethesda.
Yep.
Just like Deathloop was, just like Dishonored was, etc. And it's landed pretty much flat. And it's going to hurt them.
And my heart kind of breaks a little bit because I was really excited for Redfall when I saw the
Dude,
gunplay.
I love Arcane,
the footage, and it feels like there's a lot of I was talking with a content creator that everybody in this chat would know, but I just feel like consistently what we have is Xbox shooting themselves in the foot, and then you're getting unforced errors. And then you're getting the situation. It's like, yo, the tide is not with you, and it's time to change some things. And I don't know what needs to change. I think it's very armchair quarterbacking to be like, oh, it's got to be Phil, it's got to be Matt Booty, it's got to be this, but something. And maybe that's what's already happened. Maybe that's why we're just now finding out in the last few months about Halo moves that have already happened, right? Like those Halo changes took place months ago, but we just find out via LinkedIn or whatnot.
Yes.
And so maybe that's what's happening, but there does need to be something that changes because it's clearly not working. And I will say again, man, if you didn't have the boxes to make it, like they don't have enough, they're having a supply issue. Why was the need? And to segue this to Jedi, if we're able to, and we don't have to, Jedi would have made so much sense if they delayed it a little bit longer into the week of May 1st. So you could do May the 4th be with you and a whole thing there. And this patch that just dropped or that drops tomorrow for Jedi could have been out, or at least, and some of the things addressed. Sometimes you need a bigger group to figure out what you can fix for a patch. But like, how many things could have been fixed for Jedi if you just waited till Star Wars week, just a little bit longer? Why come out here? What dictates that?
Agree. I'm only bringing this up because it relates to the conversation we're leaving behind right now.
Sure.
We got a super chat from Amin Bambrick, who is in Poland. They said it's 3 a.m. over there, so I want to shout out to Amin for joining us live. So shout out. They give us 25. That's Polish Zatni, I believe it is. Ooh. If I remember correctly from Season Gaming. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I apologize. Says, I'm with Luke. I bought an Xbox expecting quantity and variety instead of quality. So that's an interesting take. So this is someone who's just looking to use their Xbox as either a Game Pass machine or just playing, experimenting with a whole bunch of different games and seeing what they enjoy.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool.
Nice to know, because I'm sure Amin is getting that. Thank you for your super chat as well.
Yeah, thank you.
But I love the exploring of lots of games. Question is, do I need to stick with them? Like our joke, Ains, about how many hours. When you got Game Pass, do you need to stay in longer if you're not having fun?
Absolutely not. No, I'm with you on the find the fun thing where, like, if I would have stuck with Redfall anyway, because I really was having fun, especially later on. But if you're playing a game and you have no obligation to it, like a review, right? Or content or anything, if you're just playing a game and not enjoying it, but you continue playing it because you think I should be enjoying it, you're doing it wrong. Turn the game off. Go play something else. There are way too many games to waste your time on if you're not having fun.
Mm-hmm. So, now let's go talk about Jedi Survivor,
go for it.
A game of which I've put. Yes.
Let me lead this conversation.
Oh, yes, sir.
Because I have it. It's installed on Xbox, by the way, because I was going to buy it for PC, and then I made the mistake of looking up how the game's running on PC. Oof. So I have it installed, but of course, because of Redfall, because of other obligations, I have not played it. I literally turned it on for 5 minutes today to do the first cinematic that it shows. So I've heard from Travis on this. I've heard from a few others on this that outside of the technical issues, we'll talk about that. I want to ask you about it. Outside of the technical issues, that the game is spectacular so far. That it has some moments in it that are really, really stand out. It has far better environments than Fallen Order. And that it really does a good job of kind of cementing itself as a Star Wars game, to use one of Luke's phrases. So I'll let you guys touch on that real quick. I've heard that Mo told me that the lightsaber you guys just held up from the collector's edition is actually fantastic. Like, it's real metal and heavy and beautiful.
It works.
It's very heavy. So okay,
I took the saber out, but it works. Yeah, it's a Galaxy's Edge saber.
Now I put a comparison on Twitter. This thing is a beefy bitch.
Just keep doing that the whole episode, dude. You work those fucking shoulders. Oh shit! I said fucking. I said it twice now. Oh well.
Hey, what's the matter with you? Oh, I hit something. But
whoa.
it's not like
accurate. Luke, is that a saber you have there, or?
Yeah, no, I made some jokes about it. So
ask your mother.
Oh my god. Yeah, let's talk first performance. For me, I have played over 25 hours of this game so far. I've explored many a world, all of which I will not cover because spoilers. So very spoiler free.
And be careful because you are prone to an accidental spoiler.
Yeah, please, because I've stayed away from most stuff for this game because this is the game that I'm gonna sit down, not think about timelines, and just enjoy.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting Palpatine to enter the game either and be fully nude, frontal. You see it. Very brave choice. But let's first talk about the performance of this game, because that's the thing that's been talked about the most, and I hate that it's been talked about the most because I actually, to echo what Travis said, if you're not playing on PC, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, and it's not like giving it a pass. There's definitely pop-in. It's noticeable. There's definitely frame drops, and it gets noticeable. There are moments where if I'm by a waterfall, this game's gonna chug a little bit, for sure. But I give it a pass because so much more of my time, I'm just in amazement of how much just fun I'm having. Like, there are so many moments, so many animations, so many just cool death scenarios that you're doing to the enemies around you that I'm constantly like, I'm hour 25 and I'm still amazed of what I'm discovering with those animations. Like, it's very varied in the enemies you encounter and how you dispose of them. But if I'm playing on a PlayStation 5, the first level is rough. It is. It's strange that the first level, usually that's the one that is, immaculate, and later on in the game you run into problems. It's in reverse. The first hour is rough, and then the more you play it, the more you get away from the first area, the more the game is just normal. It's just fine. So
you don't mean that in a bad way. You mean fine as in no issues.
So
fine as in I'm running into the occasional issue, but it's
no. But I mean, you didn't mean fine as in it's not a good game. Like it's fine. No, you meant there's no issues.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I need to interrupt you to say, Joe, I've been playing on Series X, and I don't think this is a Series X and PlayStation comparison. However, I during the XEP review impressions, because neither of us finished the game. I struggled to articulate how far along I was, and at the time I was maybe between 6 and 10 hours. Why the 4-hour gap? Because multiple crashes and the location of save points kept me from. I had to replay several things multiple times. They've got a big patch coming out tomorrow, so maybe this is going to be a dated comment if anybody's watching on VOD. But I've lost at least 4 hours to crashing. And while I haven't seen that be like a big conversation, I'm not the only one that's happened to.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a bummer because, to your point at the top of this topic, the performance is going to get better. And that's not what anybody should be talking about, because I mean, we are diehard Star Wars fans. We love Star Wars. That's why I'm wearing this shirt. It's Star Wars week. I mean, I'm rewatching Kenobi because of this game, because it's just the time period lines up well, and I like Jedi. But this game really does a great job at bringing you into the Star Wars universe, making you feel like you're a part of the Star Wars universe, and that you matter and you're making a difference. It's telling a story that matters in the greater universe, but feels whole. Like if you played Battlefront 2's story.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
You got to enjoy some good acting. I forget the actress's name, but Inferno Squad was great. I forget her name. I hate that because she was very good.
Oh, she's awesome. Keep going. I'll look it up.
Yeah. Thank you. But Inferno Squad's story was really cool, but it felt like a side story in Star Wars. Whereas with Cal, it feels like in this time period, you're the main character.
Yeah.
Like if there was a movie for Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order together, Janina Gavankar. Thank you, Alejandro.
Yes, there it is. Janina Gavankar. And she's about my age too. What's up, Janina?
Yeah.
Relax, creep.
You like how I leave this bald head down? He's like, hello.
Hey, hold on. Let me fix that real quick.
Yeah, there you
I'm
go.
good. See? I'm
Oh
good.
yeah, that's gonna
Yeah.
help you. You don't look like a stalker who's got
That's right.
toenail clippings.
A white man in a wooded cloak. That's really good. That's really helping.
It's
your cause.
it's Monday night, and this nerd in a hoodie's talking video games. What's going on?
What's going on?
Funny enough, Gavankar, she seems to like gaming a lot. But
She's a super geek. Yeah, she's awesome.
yeah,
Anyway,
she's
go on.
awesome. Great job with that character. But my point is, this you feel like it matters, and that's the cool part. Is you immediately pick up where you left off in Fallen Order, so you're not depowered. And then we're not the only ones to note this, but like the first level, which serves as a tutorial, but really just feels like a video game level.
Yeah.
It is great. And you're a Jedi. You're a goddamn Jedi out there doing Jedi things at a time when you shouldn't be. And you haven't been, you're just the evolution. And I will say, Joe, I'll let you take over, buddy. But I will say, if you've not played Fallen Order, go play that, because the moments in that game are really cool, especially the ending. And the ending was so powerful in Fallen Order. It felt good to feel like I was a product of that ending.
Yes.
And that mattered here.
Yeah. God bless games that don't depower you for the sake of depowering you.
Correct.
Yeah.
Horizon had the laziest way of like, someone stole my gear, and that's why you're starting off with nothing. Someone stole your gear, Aloy. Okay. No, they do such a great job onboarding you. It all feels pretty damn just natural. And they, while not taking away the basics from you, they still add more traversal options that make it feel so varied in just how you're traversing. There's really great Metroidvania things of like, I can't get to you now, but I will. So there's just a lot of traversal options that they give you that it just, when your hands are moving in different patterns, it just feels great for your brain. So yeah, traversal is incredible. The combat is just more really refined version of Fallen Order. It feels,
I was gonna say, is
really
it deeper
good.
than Fallen Order?
It's a tad bit deeper. Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing I don't like about the combat personally, because Travis is like, this is a baby, baby's first From Software game. Sure. Yes, if we're boiling it down to it has From Software like action, yes. That being said, the one thing I don't like about the combat is how your skill trees. I'm not a fan of the progression because you feel kind of bare. Like there's so many options for you, so many stances that you can do in the game. And I'm not going to get into it's hard to focus on one thing. And when you're using your skills, or if you found another stance, you have to reallocate those skills up. Yeah, you got to reallocate your skills to that tree. So then that means you have to waste a skill point in order to do that. I feel like you're not earning XP fast enough to earn those rewards. Because to me, I feel punished by trying to explore with different stances. I'm just now finding what I'm comfortable in, and I'm just sticking to it. So I think
be
that's
careful with the word reallocate. I don't want to give people the wrong. To my knowledge, you cannot reallocate skills.
No, you can. So
can you? I've not encountered that then.
So you can refund them, and you refund skills by using one skill point. Ooh. And you can exactly. And it's like, well, you're not rewarding my my experimentation.
Oh, you have to spend a skill point to refund your spent skills. To respec is the better word. Yeah. I don't like that at all.
Yeah. So that's the one big bummer. Well, but besides all of that, the combat is still familiar, what you know from Jedi Fallen Order, just expanded on because of the stance system that they added in.
Is there a way to get endless skill points? Like, can you grind them?
You can grind them, yes. But early on, you feel like you have no abilities. So like there's once
I thought you just said
you're not depowered. So Ains is confused by the not being depowered to some of the abilities. So at the end of Fallen Order, you're barely a Jedi Knight.
Right.
And so there are certain weaknesses and strengths that you might have. But when you start Jedi Survivor, you're a Jedi Knight in full. But they've expanded the tree a little bit. And
Sure.
they've also expanded the number of stances. What that means is you end Fallen Order with 3 lightsaber settings, single, double bladed, and 2 sabers.
Yep.
And you can go even further with 2 other stances now. And
Okay.
so those options present their own skill trees, and there's some stuff that doesn't quite feel natural. I feel like the force push is a little weak here and there, and some stuff like fighting droids is its own beast, but they do a good job at mixing and matching some of those enemies. I see the questions in chat. Rob asks, remind me to talk about enemy types in a minute. But Rob said, did you all enjoy the cosmetic focus loot system? What he means by that is you find these like boxes throughout the world, and you might unlock a new hairstyle for Cal, or a new outfit or color scheme, and then you can get certain types of currencies and go purchase them from a vendor. I know what he's talking about, but I was actually okay with it because it gave some kind of air of fun to it, and it was you were never getting abilities by those boxes, so it was like a reward for exploration, which I appreciated. Something that recent
and it
games
didn't
haven't
feel
done.
like you're pressured, because if you don't care about the cosmetics, you don't have to do that.
Yeah,
but if you care about them, then you want to discover what a new, you could discover a new lightsaber hilt, a mustache for Cal, a hairstyle, a cloak, like different colors that you can augment BD1 with. Like there's a lot of awesome loot to be found that isn't detrimental to the gameplay itself. It's very Sekiro in the lens of Cal isn't getting stronger with every level he gets. You're just getting new abilities
options.
Yeah, you're getting new options in combat, which is what I like, because it is that, like, there are times with some of the world bosses where it's just like, all right, now you just got to get good. It's like
difficulty's easy to change for that too.
Absolutely, yeah. I think
I saw there's like 5. Yeah, I was gonna say I saw at the beginning there's like 5. So,
and one of the things I want to talk about here is there's a lot of enemy variety in my 10 to I think I'm 15 to 20 hours. I'm somewhere in there. There's a lot of enemy variety in the game, but what's cool about it is that as a Star Wars fan, there's a reason for that enemy variety, and it makes sense canonically. And that's really I'm appreciative of that, because one of the things that Star Wars itself, by way of being made original trilogy, then prequels, then sequels, is some of the technology didn't make the time jump at various points. And so to have some of the Clone War era droids, all of a sudden they're just not there in the original trilogy, didn't make a lot of sense. And so a lot of the expanded universe has done a good job bringing them in. And so in this case, and it's not a spoiler to say that, like, because we've seen it in trailers, you're fighting some of the old battle droids, which have been repurposed by mysterious bad guy 1, bad guy 2, bad guy 3, and they've been repurposed for this reason. And that makes perfect sense. That happens in Mandalorian as well.
Yes.
And that's a cool thing for me as a fan of the lore, is to be playing a complete story that doesn't feel like, oh, I'm seeing battle droids because they were in a movie once. Doesn't feel like that.
Everything has a purpose of why it's there. The one thing that I love that this game does so great is bring the fantastical fantasy element of it. Like, it feels so, the worlds feel like like I saw a tractor in a tar pit just stuck there. I'm like, why are we still using tractors? This is silly. Like, there's a bounty hunter with a cowboy hat, and they're just really cool with an Aussie draw to them. Like, it's just so silly, fantastical. The reasons why I love Star Wars, it's just peppered throughout. There's so many Easter eggs too, and I think so many connections. And I think this is what this game does so well, to all of it.
Yeah.
Without it feeling like the MCU, where it's like, oh, this scene is here because they're going to introduce this character there. No, it just feels right. The story is, while I admit a bit of a slower burn, I'm enjoying the crap out of it, because I'm wondering where it's leading me, because it's something very different, and I appreciate it. Yeah.
One of the reasons I think it's a slow burn, I don't think it's a slow burn. I think it's a matter of how you choose to play the game. Something that's lost on a lot of the preview coverage. And Ains, this is not going to spoil an experience for you, but in many ways, Fallen Order was a linear experience. It's not. It wasn't. There were wide linear elements, but it was a linear.
No. Yeah, it was. I would call it linear.
I would as well, and I liked it for that in a lot of ways. And that was one of my first struggles with Jedi Survivor. That wasn't related to performance. Was where am I supposed to go? In fact, Logan and I were joking.
You've got me more excited now.
Yeah.
If you're lost, I'm happy.
So that was what Logan said. I was like, don't make fun of me because it's not holding my hand. He goes, no, that's Ains. And I was like, that's you too.
Well, yeah, perfect.
Because I didn't know. I was like, am I supposed to explore? Like Fallen Order didn't let me. Am I supposed to?
Right.
And so some of that slower burn, I realized quite by accident that I was doing a mission that I thought was a main mission, and no, I was just tracking something down for somebody in the world. But it felt good and it felt Jedi-like, which was cool on several levels for me. And Ains, one of the big jokes about us is how you and I play games being so different and the time investment and stuff. But one of the things I like about games that handhold me and tell me where to go is that I want to feel accomplished in my time spent. And very rarely do open world games fully fulfill that, right? That's not always true. Like Cyberpunk, I felt like I was doing something worthwhile and a few other games. But in Jedi Survivor, I feel like my time is well spent no matter what I'm doing. Elden Ring, I was confused for the first few hours. Like, what am I just walking? Right? Like, where am I supposed to go? I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Right. That was not fun for me because I was like, I need something. I need a purpose. I need to respect my time. That's how I interpreted it. Whereas with Survivor, I'm not feeling that. Maybe that's my love for the universe. And I grew to love Elden Ring. I mean, 150 plus hours in that one?
You have?
Yeah.
150 plus?
Yes. Why do you give me a hard time about how long?
No. Like I knew you played it and beat it and enjoyed it, but 150 plus is significant. I thought you were like 80 or something.
No, I'll pull it up for you. I don't mind.
No. You don't have to pull up receipts. I believe you, but 150 plus, that's my man over there. See, he got it. He gets it.
He gets it. Yeah.
100%. So quick aside, everybody. He gives me a hard time about not playing games a lot. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't know how long I played Cyberpunk.
No. Not playing games a lot. You probably play games as much or more than I do. Not finishing games.
I finished a lot of games. You can see my profile.
By the way, not to interrupt, but shout out to Alejandro in the chat. Alex is our reviewer for Star Wars. Yeah. His review will be going up shortly, but he's really enjoying it. And he called out one thing I wanted to send to get your guys' opinion on. I said he should be in here for me because he knows a lot more about it than I do. He said outside chests, there are hidden Jedi echoes that give new perks on top of collectibles to purchase said perks. Can you guys expand upon that a little bit?
Yeah, yes. So there, go for it, Luke, because again, I'm all loopy tonight.
Also, shout out to Dre in the house. What's up, man?
Who?
Dre Watson.
Dre Watson.
I missed. Oh, hey, Dre. Sorry, I missed. I thought it was like Alejandro. Okay,
I'm the guy that's like coming down. I
feel like you forgot about Dre.
I'm the one that should be like, what's going on?
Panic attack. I'm sorry.
I did actually.
I didn't. I'm sorry. About
I feel like I have the feeling in my chest that I need to run. I don't know why.
Well,
I made a nice Dr. Dre joke and it was totally missed. It's all right. Carry on.
I can't run my knees.
So the perk system is a neat kind of aside that I've not had a chance to explore as much in 15 hours, but I can feel like this is one of those tweaking things.
Yes.
So I'll let Joe jump in after I kind of give you the basis. The perk system is neat because you have a set number of slots, and some perks take up more slots, some take up less, depending on how you want to build your Jedi, which works very well in conjunction with the skill tree. And like for me right now, one of my perks is that my block meter lasts a little bit longer. So I can block for just a little bit longer than I otherwise could. And that gives someone like me a little more time or a little bit to get my timing right.
And as someone who likes to throw their saber around like a madman, there's a perk where my saber throws do more damage, go a little farther. There's pros and cons to each little perk you do, but the better the perk, the more costly it is. So like you have, I think for me right now, 5 slots. So my throwing slot is like 3, like it uses 3 units. So like you could kind of, wombo combo them the way you'd like, really build out and flesh out your Cal. There's a lot here, man. Like this is a really big game. The world alone, I want to give a huge huge pat on the back to Respawn, because the first game, not to say that this one is, it still has some problems with the map for sure, but the first game, everybody was so frustrated with that map, right? Like trying to just fast travel anywhere, find where you are. It was annoying. You have, not to say it's completely fixed in Survivor, but because I feel like the level is much more flat, you have way less problems of identifying where exactly you are and where exactly you need to go. And there's cool accessibility features that actually give you a golden path of where you should be going right here, which I really like. And if you don't want any hints, Ainge, I
Yes.
thought of you here, right, man?
Yeah. Can I turn them all off?
Yes.
Cal doesn't say a goddamn word.
Thank God.
There are, though there are like white areas to show where you need to jump, they're not prevalent. So it sometimes to a fault.
That's normal though. That's normal.
Yeah, but like sometimes to a fault till I was like, okay, guide me a little bit. I'm running around like this one area for 40 minutes. I'm like, I don't know if I need an ability. Okay. But like the map is so much more. It's so much more improved.
It captures the spirit of the first game, though, which I thought was cool. It's a nice, because it is improved, but it kind of, it makes sure that it's not just redoing it, you know?
So there are moments in this game, just to hype people up, where I understand why this is a PS5 and Xbox Series X game.
Yeah, that's a good point. This, just like Hogwarts, feels like it belongs on this current gen. I was saying next gen, but I get, people know what we mean. So.
Yeah, there's a moment I was playing at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was just like, this is happening in a video game right now.
Nice.
This is happening in a video game.
Yeah. So Alex said there's a part like midway through the game, he said that literally blew his mind. Yep. So that's awesome. Yeah,
and even if it reminds me of something else, but I can't say it because it would just give it away.
Yeah,
but it's really cool.
In Bitcast, you alluded to some great moment, and what's so exciting for me about hearing you say that, Ains, and hearing and seeing people agree with it, is there was a pretty great moment in Fallen Order that I just could not stop smiling about, and there were some great moments in Mandalorian season 2, season 3, some great moments in even Boba Fett. There were some great moments in Kenobi that I just smile, and Star Wars has that effect on me. There are just moments that just uplift me, and I can only imagine, like, seeing how much fun and happiness I'm having here, because I know I said this in the Bitcast chat when I was watching. It's like, I'm having all these problems, having so much fun. I love this game. This is a Star Wars fan's dream, and I'm the guy who's just got this new PC, thank you, Ains, that I'm playing all my old Star Wars games on, right? Like I'm playing Rogue Squadron, I'm playing Shadows of the Empire, and I'm getting that same smile. But each of those games had a special moment too. Hoth usually. But it's neat, right? Like it's cool. And so I'm so excited for whatever this great moment is, because 15 or so hours in, I've already had some moments where I'm like, this is really great. This is cool.
Star Wars, you guys are really hyping me up for it. I'm excited because, like I said, this is the game that I don't have to cover. I'm not on a timeline. I can sit down and just enjoy it at my own pace. I've got a few weeks before Diablo crushes my soul eternally.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try and this is my game essentially for May. This and finishing Resident Evil 4.
And when it comes to the map, as well, it's very reminiscent of like a much larger like Shadows of War. Like think of that of like you have big hub worlds that you're going to. It's not like a huge open world, but it's big and there's a lot to do. You have like Breath of the Wild style like shrines that you can visit and stuff. Like there's a lot that you can do here. That's not just throw your lightsaber at a thing. So
they really fleshed it out compared to Fallen Order then.
Yeah.
So it's on XEP we did a really extended discussion about it, Logan and I, and without being tongue-in-cheek, Ains, there's a lot of Breath of the Wild here.
Yep.
Your first
there's
level
Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring. I mean,
but that first world is your plateau, perfect. And then you go into this wider world because there are hubs similar to God of War, and in each of them there are shrines optional at that. Some optional, some not, and you explore this world, and you can the map. Sorry, not the map. The when you look through your binoculars, you put beacons on the map, just like Breath of the Wild. It's almost ripped straight out of it.
Yeah.
There are a lot of moments that I feel like it said it knew the assignment. It said, hey, we've got a formula. How can we take this formula of capturing Dark Souls-esque combat, and what can we do to make it better? Oh, we can make it open world and put it out into a Breath of the Wild. Like, sounds good. It was like they came to the same conclusion as the Elden Ring team at FromSoft. Yeah. They looked at what they had that was great. They looked at what others had that was great, and they put them together.
And they looked
like chocolate and peanut butter.
And they looked at, you know, what a Sony first party title is, because I like what Alejandro was saying. It's like God of War Ragnarok without the
Don't say that, because you had me hyped, and then you compare it to that.
Because when there's traversing elements, you remember that, like the funny joke we're having, like, okay, we have a combat sequence, now we're climbing on a wall. Combat sequence, climbing on the wall.
You just described the entirety of Ragnarok.
Bam. So, but here's the thing.
And there's less talking.
There's less talking. There's less of that. Like, I'm going to put this in my stash. Like when you're traversing, you're like, I'm wall running. I'm zapping through like the environment. I'm doing some climbing here or there, but like my hands are constantly moving, and I'm constantly thinking about where the next point is to go. And so that's what makes those traversing elements much better. So
you guys are talking. I mean, you know me well enough to know that mentioning Elden Ring around any game makes me perk up. I think I'm nearly at 500 hours in Elden Ring. It's, you know, I consider it one of the greatest games of all time. You guys haven't finished it yet, obviously. But you're saying that from a Star Wars perspective, right? Put the Star Wars cloak on. The game, that it takes a lot of things from the formula of the games like Elden Ring, like Breath of the Wild, and other open world games, and kind of mixes what they did well with Fallen Order into that broader formula, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited, boys. I'm pretty excited.
Are you excited? Like, are you really excited?
No, I'm genuinely excited. Seriously. I'm very tired, so I've got tired face, but I'm very excited. I like Fallen Order a lot. I wasn't as high on it as people like, this is game of the year. I didn't think it was game of the year material, but I liked it a lot. My biggest problems with Fallen Order, everyone hated the map. The map sucked. But my biggest problem with Fallen Order was actually the level design, because my big thing with Souls games, like if you look at the brilliance of Elden Ring, Souls 3, Bloodborne, right? It's level design. And it's the interconnecting, explore at your will, piece everything together. Level design is brilliant. That's what From does best. They hit their pinnacle with Elden Ring, at least to date, in my opinion. So Fallen Order took these little hubs with these confusing pathways, and it really pissed me off. I'm like, you have a good core here, but you're ruining the world for me with this terrible level design. So if they fix that, and you're telling me now I can explore at will, I can make it mysterious if I want to, I can turn off all the help. And there's far bigger areas where I can unlock things that both improve my character, cosmetics just for fun. I'm a fan of cosmetics for fun. That's fine. I like that. And good skill building, too, and it keeps the good combat, adds to it, etc. That's a hell of a formula. So you guys have me really hyped up. And I've heard similar from Travis, said pretty similar to what you guys said. It's reviewed really high despite the technical issues. Alex, who's reviewing it for us, has said it's fantastic. So I'm very excited.
My desperate hope is that while I think we're perfecting this brand of Star Wars, it's time to perfect the Rogue Squadron brand, and maybe an arcadier version of Jedi combat. And because I know Massive is making what will likely be a Mando style, bounty hunter style game, which I'm very excited for. I want to see another Jedi-esque game, but not in this style. Maybe Force Unleashed-esque. I want to see the power of these consoles put into Force powers, right? Like, do something in that realm. And I want to see a Rogue Squadron in those space battles, like the game Chorus, which I reviewed for you, Ains. Yes. I love that game. I finished it, by the way.
You reviewed it for us, so I hope so.
Yeah. I got you, man. I always take care of it. I'll follow your rules. But the idea, like when you boot up a GameCube, back in the day and you played Rogue Leader, that was a visual spectacle.
It's Rogue Squadron, wasn't it?
No, Rogue Squadron was 64, Rogue Leader and Rebel Strike were GameCube.
Yeah.
You would know better than me on this front, so yep.
I just did a Patreon episode on it, but like my point is like it was so that's what the GameCube was, and that was power, and you were playing Star Wars. I want that. This Jedi Fallen Order love, this Jedi Survivor love. I want that shown to other aspects of Star Wars. Why are you laughing at me?
Because I made you giggle while you were trying to talk.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? You mentioned massive, and that got me thinking. And I don't know. I know you guys don't play in this realm as much as I do because it's like my favorite genre. The Diablos, the Division 2s of the world, where you ARPG, you spend hundreds of hours character building and skill building and looting, right? Mm-hmm. As you were talking, I was imagining Massive basically taking Division, the theme behind Division, right, and creating a Star Wars thing where you can be a bounty hunter, or you can be a Jedi, or you could be a whatever you may be, and you have different guns you can upgrade and lightsabers you can upgrade, and co-op, so you can use your experiences together, right? Multiple lightsabers, guns, and
that's in Mandalorian.
If they created like a multi-world kind of looting and shooting, character building Star Wars, dude, you'd have me hook, line, and sinker.
The Mando formula makes perfect. The bounty hunter formula makes perfect sense for a Division style game.
It does,
and it would make sense because in Division, if you snipe somebody in the head, it doesn't kill them. It's infuriating because that's a person, and I shot him with a sniper rifle in the brain, and it didn't kill him. But in Star Wars, it's Star Wars.
Yeah, their brain could be in their butt.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I almost never mind.
Man,
you see a Star Wars toilet. There you go. That's the only spoiler you're getting.
You see a Star Wars toilet.
Hey, shout out from SP. He says, awesome articulations of your experience with Jedi Survivor. Can't wait to play. Right now, I'm going to give Redfall a go, but my most anticipated game is Diablo 4 as well. It should be, my friend. Nothing exists when that drops. Agreed.
I think SP has most of his priorities.
Yeah, you're nailing it. You're nailing it. Diablo, we've said a million times that game's going to take over my life.
I'm not a Diablo fan. I'm excited for this, and I think I talked about this on the show. All my friends are excited, so I'm excited for and with them. But I enjoyed the beta. I don't think this is ever going to be a game I live in, but I'm really excited because the quality is just top to notch there. And with Diablo 3, it did not have this feeling. Yeah, it did not feel like this.
Not at launch. I think it does now. It feels different. Diablo 4, of course, because it's 10 years later. But yeah, I'm super hyped. The funny thing is, I don't know if you guys saw this, but the game director came out and said, so if you don't know, you get to level 50, then you open your Paragon board, which is this huge kind of skill building thing. You get to level 100, which is level cap, and then you open more end game activities and other things. It's gigantic. But he said that to get to level 100 on your normal play, it's going to be about 150 hours. And me and Travis are both reviewing Diablo 4. So we saw that quote and we're like, oh, mother of God.
Let me review it for you.
Oh, God.
The first 3 hours, what you get.
So all we've joked, I mean, he's at IGN, so they'll get codes first above anyone. But all for little sites like us, good God, I hope they give us at least a couple weeks to get ahead of that because, oof, that's going to be some time.
It's going to be nuts. Also, by the way, codes provided, by the way. I don't want to,
Oh, yeah, we should.
What?
Should have said that at the
Redfall codes. Ains and I got Redfall codes. Ains got them sooner than I did. And then Joe and I both got Star Wars codes.
Yep.
And I got one a little ahead of when Joe got
his. I guess it's good to shout out. It is in my written review that Bethesda gave me the code for Redfall. But good shout out.
Put that at the stop.
I don't want Lena Khan to come after me,
the final quick thought on that, just code. We are privileged that we get codes and whatnot, but I have learned a lot in the last few months about YouTube and whatnot, and putting out audio content versus video content that's not reviews but now include reviews. And it's been interesting to me to watch how codes are distributed to sites, level sites, and learning from other YouTubers, which this is not me, this doesn't affect me, how their money, the money they make on a video is directly tied to the turnaround time on a game code. So if they're getting a review code of something, if they can't get it in an ample amount of time to play it, review it, get their script together, make their content, then they're losing money or they don't get what it is. And I think that's why you see some of the trash coverage that you get sometimes on some like 15-minute video called a review versus an impressions thing, Ains, versus, something else. He's not listening to me. It was interesting to learn this.
I am always listening. I was just responding in chat. No, I agree with you, especially, the guys like ACG, right? The guys like Skill Up, the big YouTubers who have a huge audience. It's all about turnaround time for them. And that can be good or bad, right? And I'm certainly not going to take anything away from those guys or anyone else. But I've said before, I'm in a fortunate position, or SG generally, everyone who writes for us is in a fortunate position that we're non-monetized. And that was the goal from the start, right? Is that I don't have an obligation to get something out because it's the way I make my money, right? We are lucky that we get things out just based on what we think is the right way to do it, regardless of clicks or monetization. Most people who are doing this don't have that luxury. So I fully understand the game. I get it. I just don't do it, I guess. I don't subscribe to it.
Yeah. It's taught me a lot. And it's neat. It's interesting as well. I like sharing this back end preview for people. XCP is very small Xbox specific podcasts, but to watch the distribution of codes go to the big dogs, IGN, GameSpot, and then trickle their way through content creators and websites and what's a coverage site versus a podcast versus a video reviewer, and seeing how some of that works is interesting, to say the least.
Yeah.
And I have to remind Joe, I think you and I have talked about this. We have to remind ourselves, while we have an audience, is it the audience that do we have a website? Does that traffic differently? Does that different than a view than a listen? And that's a neat thing. And since we're a podcast panel of podcast hosts, I just think that's a neat thing to note for our viewers at the moment. It's fascinating.
It's very fascinating. I learned a lot this week.
Well, guys, we spent an hour and 40 minutes talking about 2 games, and I'm actually kind of proud of that.
It was great. Felt good.
And you know what? I felt excited about one of those games. I want to jump in and play right now.
You're gonna want to play Redfall. If not,
we're gonna play this week, right, Luke?
Yeah, we're gonna play. It's a busy week, but yes.
All right, fair enough.
Because I'm doing a podcast Wednesday, and so are you. So different podcast.
It's true.
I totally forgot that I'm supposed to also be covering. Oh yeah, you're going live this week.
Very nervous.
I totally forgot that I'm also supposed to be covering Last Case of Benedict Fox, which I started on, but.
Talk about codes. They sent that 12 hours, the code, which again, privileged, appreciative, 12 hours before it launched on the Game Pass and went live.
Yep.
Bro, I'm doing Jedi and Redfall. Like,
yeah.
I love y'all.
By the way, if you want a hilarious thing, on a different site, I just got sent a code an hour ago. Like as we were recording this, or just before it, I got sent a code for Redfall. I was like, I'm already done the game.
That's Bethesda, Xbox, and email are all
PR is a mess sometimes in the gaming industry.
Yeah. But again, it's a neat point of privilege, but it's telling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Guybrush asks, sorry. One question. Guybrush asks, I heard Benedict Fox doesn't run great on Series X. It runs well until you get into more complex combat scenarios. Once there's multiple enemies coming at you, it has hiccups, which are very frustrating. I've heard from
a lot of people losing their saves.
Ooh, I haven't had that happen. I hope not, because I'm a good 3 or 4 hours in at this point. But I've heard it runs great on PC. I actually have a code for PC I haven't used. I may start from the beginning on PC. I don't know if it's worth it. I don't know how long the game is. We'll see.
Shout out to Dre. Appreciate you watching, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Joe, you got big news for Trophy Room this week, buddy. I know you're usually our outro guy, but I want you to talk about this before we do our spiel. Tell me about what you're doing.
Yeah, so this Wednesday at 8 p.m. EST time, the Trophy Room goes live for its first ever live in front of a non-studio audience recording of the show. So we're going to have a cute little pre-show. We're going to, do the show like we normally would. We're going to have a post-show with you, the fans who are watching currently. So if you love this content right here, you want to be part of the show, go over to youtube.com/ at PS Trophy Room to catch the show there live. Subscribe, ring the bell, get notified, all that good stuff. I'm very nervous about it. Maybe that's the reason why I had the panic attack earlier. I'm not
You're nervous about it? Why?
It's the first time I've ever done this. I'm expecting the whole thing to blow up. You
Well,
know?
look, brother,
You're
you've
good,
cultivated a
dude.
great community that is there for the right reasons, and
Sure.
that to me it tells me that it could blow up in your face, and they're gonna show up for the
Sure.
VOD in the next day and the next try.
Yeah.
That's what you got to keep in mind, man.
Yeah, and you've been. We've obviously done this a lot. You've been on Big Cash. You've been on XEP. You've been on a ton of shows. You've done it live many times. You guys will be fine, man. It'll be
Yeah.
good.
You're
They know
right.
what you look like.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest obstacle, and they've
Yeah.
overcome that.
You've
They've
got-
come to
yeah,
grips with it. You know what I mean?
I don't know how they have.
This is
dude.
probably why you have more audio listeners, but I mean,
Wait, you know what? Way more. Way more audio listeners. That tracks.
I think you figured it out.
he's like, video has taken a dive, but
Yeah.
people still listen to us. I don't know.
It's like, whoa. Well, what I got a 1-star review because someone reviewed me or listened to the show, watched us, and they're like, "Oh, he's just an overweight middle-aged dude." I'm like, "So
Saw
you're
that.
disappointed?"
You cracked
I
the
get
code.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh,
Was that the dude that called you woke?
No, I don't know who did.
Oh.
Who the dumb idiot is.
Oh man. So
Oh,
yeah, go support Trophy Room this Wednesday as they go live for the first time.
yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Very excited about it. I will annoy you both about it as well as we get closer and closer.
I'll be on a podcast at that time. That's the funny part.
What podcast are you doing on Wednesday?
Cyphers. Silent Cipher is being
There you go.
kind
Oh,
enough
sweet.
to welcome me on. I've never been on Xbox International, so I'm excited.
Fantastic.
Can
You
I
got your
I
passport ready? In case you're going abroad.
think that's what they say, you jerk. I think that's what they do.
Oh,
Yeah. So you're a bad person.
Hey, this is what happens. This is why Wednesday's going to blow up in his face. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That's right, that's
Oh,
right.
did you bring your trophies with you, boys?
Guys, I want to all listeners, if you've enjoyed tonight, we thank you for joining us. You can find my content, the Xbox expansion pass, on all your podcast services and YouTube. I had a cool little 2 little dumb videos that kind of did some nice little viral things, which was fun. But I am 2 patrons away from 25, which I'm really excited about.
That's cool. I
I
lost
could not-
13 this month.
Good, you deserve it. But I could not be more proud of that because we just started it, and I have just some wonderful people that uplift me there because that's our Discord and stuff. So that's really cool. So that's what's up, Ains. I hope you don't have anything going on, man, because you have busted your ass. the
You
last
look
few
like
weeks.
shit.
I do look. I'm not joking. I'm tired, guys. I really am.
All
I-
for Redfall. Was it worth it?
all for Redfall. It's
not-
weird because I've done this countless times actually now where I we get codes later. We're a small site, right? So code, I think Bethesda emailed me Thursday night. And so I started Redfall Friday morning, and here it's Monday, right? And I did nearly 30 hours and wrote a long review, and there's stuff that goes into publishing a review formally, right? So you're talking, 35 hours or so over the span of a weekend, plus doing Big Cast, plus doing this show tonight. And it's just, seriously, for guys like me, Joe, Luke, and the people that you guys follow, the smaller content creators who are out there grinding, this shit takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of effort. And it's just, your support, no matter if it's just hanging out with us here, super chats, whether it's financial or not, doesn't matter. It's just support, sharing stuff out, being in the chat, listening, watching. It means an awful lot to us. And it's funny because I look back and it's like, Jesus, was it worth doing this Redfall review? And worth it is, it's subjective, right? What is worth it? I don't make any money off it. It costs me time, right? I'm losing money by doing the review, but I get enjoyment out of it. And I like having something out there I can point to that I did, and I think I did well. So for me, it's worth it. I don't know if I'll feel that way years from now. We'll see, but who knows?
But I want to compliment the run. Dead Island. You had Resident Evil, Dead Island, Redfall, and Jedi. SG has just been cranking.
Oh, we've
out
been
reviews.
cranking stuff out. Yeah, man. We so shout out to Steve and Alex and Eric and Elu, who does all of our editing, by the way. He's a champion. He's in the chat right now.
You could do a lot better.
I did PGA. We did Minecraft Legends. We did Dredge. We did Wolong.
Oh, Legends.
We did Lightfall. We did Pinball FX, which is a little game. I did Hogwarts. Like, we have grinded out a bunch of content over the past 2 months. And but It's been very, very good. We are set up with more kind of PR reps now. We have site traffic has been really strong. The channel's growing really well, as you guys know. So I mean, it's all on the up and up. It's worth it.
Love to see it.
Cool. I do love to see it.
So, but yeah, I got to get some goddamn sleep, man. Because I'm
All right, let's outro this. You ready?
Do it. Thanks everybody for hanging out.
Thank you guys. Have a good night, everyone.
So here's what we
Appreciate
learned. No, shut your fucking mouth. Here's what we learned. Redfall's poo poo caca. Game Pass is done. Xbox dead. PlayStation's no better. And Ouya lives forever in the eternal light of the Lord Jesus Christ. All right, everybody. I love you all very much. And keep passing the call.